Hello and welcome to Sports by Compion, Midwest Rugby Edition. I am your host, Stephen Compion, of course, joined here by the ever-powerful, Chick-fil-A loving Dan Gill in the house. Dan, how you doing over there, bud?
Enjoying my Chick-fil-A. Glad
Love
to see
to
you
see
got
it.
another club on the show.
Absolutely. We are more than happy to welcome Mr. Captain, long-term captain, in fact, of the Woodsmen, Northwest Woodsmen. Mr. John Majewski himself is here on Sports by Compion, joining us for the Midwest Series. John, how are you, buddy?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys doing?
Splendid. We're very happy you're here with us. Can't wait to talk about all things Midwest Rugby, all things Northwest Woodsmen. It's going to be a great day. We're very pumped. So
Sounds
here
good.
we are. Let's hop right into it, as they say, Dan. Before we get into all the other details, let's talk Ravens Woodsmen. The last game of the season for the Ravens. I don't know if the Woodsmen had another one, but yeah, tragic game for the Ravens. But let's get into it. I actually meant to introduce Mr. John Ice in the Veins Majewski because damn, did he just end our season with a final kick? We have covered it here on Sports by Compion before. But yes, John went ahead and killed the Ravens' playoff hopes with a beautiful kick right down the middle. Personally, Dan, I was standing on that sideline. I had no doubt that this guy was not going to miss. I didn't have any doubt because I've seen him play for years now, and I pretty much knew we were fucked at that point. But John, tell us a little bit about that game, but particularly that kick. How did you feel going into that kick? A little bit of nerves? Do you feel like you had it?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like you had less doubt than I did. I was talking to my scrum half, and I'm telling him, like, hey, I know I can hit this, but I'm giving it like a 65% chance. So you feeling some pods, or you want me to take it? So I talked to scrum half, and he's like, hey, man, if you're feeling it, just go for it. So tried not to think about it too much and let it rip. And thankfully it went in, because that would have been super unfortunate if it had not.
Yeah, I think we've been okay with it. But either way, it's very impressive. We're not going to make a bunch of excuses because excuses are like assholes, John. Everyone has one.
That's
so,
sure.
The Ravens went into this game missing some key players, especially people in our offense. And, maybe a couple questionable calls by the referee at the end there to get you guys into field goal range. But you know what? Like I said, no fucking excuses. You guys, in my opinion, were hands down the best defense we played all year. That forward pack, I don't think you guys have a guy who missed a tackle all day. It's insane. Like, we just could not move the ball on this team, Dan. One of our only try really came. No, we had two tries, but one of them came off of a block kick. Other than that, offense was at a premium, really, for both teams. It was kind of a defensive battle all the way through. But John, talk us through it a little bit coming into that game. The team's mindset, where you guys were, what you thought of everything.
Right. Yeah. So like you were saying, it was the last game of the season. I mean, we were almost guaranteed out of the playoffs at that point, but you always want to go into the game, expecting to win, trying your best to win. And we went into it with that attitude. It was a little chilly, but otherwise I thought great rugby weather. But like you said, defense was killing it out there. In the very beginning, my team especially, we were really struggling to hold on to the ball. I just remember specifically, I try to keep my cool all the time, but midway through the first, I'm starting to already think, like, why can nobody catch the goddamn ball? But yeah, so it was a struggle all around, I think, for a little bit of both teams. And like you said, defense was killing it. We went into halftime with a very close score, and we thought, if we, limit the mistakes, maybe we can come away with this. But like you said, things came up on both sides of the ball. Some here and there calls, but overall, 'tis what it is. And yeah, thankfully that last kick went in, because otherwise it would have turned out differently.
Absolutely. But yeah, spectacular game, actually. It was a very close game. I feel like the Woodsmen and the Ravens always play a tight game. The Woodsmen have definitely had our number the last couple of years now. So, we got to try to see if we can fix that in the spring. I mean, not the fall. But either way, hell of a game. Was really great. Want to go through a couple of your players here real quick, starting with Mr. Gio, who we actually sent over to you, was a former Raven during the spring and went to go play for you guys in the fall. I thought he played a pretty good game, and he's a very young and upcoming flanker, so it should be pretty exciting for you guys having him over there. Tell us a little bit about Gino.
Yeah, no, that was a great addition. Met him through actually like our sponsor bar. He got my number, got in touch with me. Obviously, you guys sent him over, and I'm glad that happened. Like you said, he's young and athletic, and the longer he's going to play with us, hopefully it's for a while. The more he'll get in tune with like our system and his like the teammates around him. But yeah, he was a phenomenal add to the team and has really helped our back three just kind of like get around the field faster.
Absolutely. And your number 6, I don't want to fuck up his name, but I believe it was Jesus, if I'm not mistaken. Got man of the match for you guys. Had maybe about 20 tackles or something. The kid was all over the field. I believe he had maybe a drop pass or two, but he certainly made up for it on defense. He was hauling ass all day.
If my memory serves right, I think that was Manny.
Right. Sorry,
yeah.
Manny.
Oh, yeah, no problem. But yeah, he was all over the field. He's another guy that we just got very recently. So both flankers are, helping in it, especially as we were saying in the beginning, like defensively, we were sound. We got the younger athletic guys around the back, loose three. But yeah, the longer that they play with us, maybe that offense will pick up more steam. But yeah, he was all over the place, making tackle after tackle. So that's always helpful, regardless of what the offensive skills are. But at defense, wins games. Like it kind of went that way.
Absolutely. Defense wins games, wins championships. Another player I wanted to talk about was, I believe he's your forward selector, usually plays 6 for you guys. I have no idea what the guy's name is, but he's always very friendly, and I do like playing against him. Curly-haired gentleman.
Yeah, I think he played 8-man in that game, Jimmy.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, so he's our assistant captain, our forward selector. He's been with the club just as long as me, and yeah, he's a great guy to be playing with.
Absolutely. Total stud. And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention number 13. I have no idea what the guy's name is, but he was running through our back line all day when he did catch the ball, that is. But I even struggled to tackle that guy, and I usually don't struggle to tackle. Ended up with a high tackle on him, and he was making our defense look bad at points for sure.
Yeah, we switched around our back line, so I'm not sure if you're talking about Daryl or possibly David, but our back line was pretty sound throughout the season, really. Whenever we had everybody there, usually that was where we got, like you said, we find holes pretty nicely. It really comes down to the consistency, though, because obviously I can't even remember who was playing 13 that game. So it's always always nice.
Dreads.
Oh, that's Daryl then, yeah. Yeah, because he's played fullback, he's played 10, he's played 13. So, once you can get more consistency, obviously that helps with the team. But yeah, Daryl's been a phenomenal athlete on the team for even longer than I have been. I took a little hiatus, but now that he's back, it's helped our back line out phenomenally. It's such a great thing to have a player like that on the field with you.
Always nice to have some veteran presence in that back line, and he absolutely showed it. I think he had a phenomenal game. Had a chance to probably put up a couple more tries on us if he catches a couple more of those balls, which thankfully he didn't.
Right.
But yeah, Dan, do you have anything to put in there, bro?
No, I mean, I obviously was not there, so I mean, shocker.
You weren't there, Dad? I thought you were there in spirit, though, right?
Always in spirit. But no, I mean, aside from the Ravens matchup, honestly, like, how do you feel like your season as a whole kind of went for you guys? Not just, I know we've been focused.
Well, the whole year. Let's back it up to the spring because you guys have a fairly good spring too.
We talked about Lake County kind of came out really hot against everybody.
Right.
I think that was relatively a shock to most people. And then, Peoria just had a tough year, and they're generally one of the stronger teams out there. But kind of where were you guys feeling all year?
Well, like this fall, actually, I thought it was kind of crazy. Like no team was really – I mean, we had a couple of teams with down years, but the fact that no team went undefeated in Carfu is kind of wild because every year that I've been playing, there's always been that like one dominant team that just kind of takes the field. This year, the fact that no team was, undefeated, and we had second, third, and fourth place all finish at 4-2 as a record. Right. Yep. So that just kind of goes to show you how even the playing field was this fall. And, I thought my team played pretty well. Obviously, the 2 losses hurt and kept us out of the playoffs. But I thought it was for my team and for what I've been used to, I thought it was a good year. And I think we're starting to build something with some of these younger guys. And we've actually had a bunch of games where, we actually had to tell people they couldn't play because, we're hitting the 23 and over mark at people showing up.
Yeah, you guys showed up with an army to that last game. It was crazy. You played more players than we did. No, that was probably about even, but either way, crazy.
Yeah, it's been incredibly helpful, and then just that just goes to like even practices being more, more helpful with people fighting for spots. You can do more
Absolutely.
drills. We beat the Blaze this year, which has always been a goal of mine because they're usually
Sure.
whooping our asses. And even though they're not part of the D3 Carfu, like we opened up our season by winning our scrimmage against Fox Valley, which is just like such a great opener, especially for
For
the
sure.
Woodsmen. We've got our rivalry with them that's been going on for a while. So, as a
Absolutely.
whole, I think the Woodsmen had a good season. Tough that we, couldn't finish out with making the playoffs, but we got some young guys coming up and we're building something that it looks like, pretty promising. So, all in all,
Yeah.
I thought pretty good.
Yeah,
It's kind of
because
crazy how there's so many teams and this car food division all sort of peaking around the same time. Maybe Lake County is kind of on top of that list, which Dan mentioned was kind of surprising to some. I don't think it was surprising to anyone who was paying attention during the summer, because
yeah,
if you showed up to any one of those tournaments, they showed up in force and they dominated most of those tournaments. So, what do you make of Lake County kind of separating themselves from the pack a little bit? But overall, what do you make of this crazy competitiveness? You kind of mentioned it already, but
Right. Yeah. No, it was crazy. I mean, Lake County in the past has some good summer squads because I know in the past they've had some college guys coming back. So when they have good squads in summer tournaments, like it does turn my head a little bit. But I never know if that's it's going to continue on or if that's going to die out after summer. But this year, yeah, I knew it was going to be a tough one. We opened up our season with that scrimmage win against Fox Valley, then win against the Blaze, and we really thought after those two wins that we're like, okay, we got something going here. And Lake County we always played really tight against them. I knew it was going to be a struggle. I knew it was going to be a game, and it was a close match. Like we had opportunities to win that game, and for them to be coming in like a powerhouse that they were, and for us to have a tight match against them, like I just thought it was kind of an amazing season to be a part of, in my opinion.
absolutely. No, very, very amazing season. Sorry, Dan, I cut you off before. What were you saying?
no, it was kind of about the numbers thing because we talk about this all the time, not just with like other teams we've talked about or talked with, but when we cover Carfu week over week, depth is just an overwhelming problem for like most teams in the league. And is this like a relatively newer trend for you guys? Like you haven't had this kind of depth before, or what did you guys do to kind of get that outreach to get these plus numbers in?
Great question. Yeah, we have, even super recently, like last spring or even just 1 year ago fall, we were having games that were struggling to get 15 people there. And so just as recently as like a year ago, we were having games like that. And we only had maybe one to two games this season where we didn't have to like call out the 23 and have people be sitting. So it's an incredible change, and it really does make things, a lot better as a whole. I wish that we had some secret recipe, but we got pretty lucky with some guys. Just you said Gio was coming over from you because he had moved closer to us, and we just had a couple of guys who were just looking to play rugby. We didn't necessarily recruit them, and they just found our team because they lived close by. I keep in contact with the high school team in our area who I also played with. So some guys that I brought back out from retirement are coming back around a little bit more. It's a constant struggle to get people to come around and stay around. We had a
Sure.
couple of young guys come just because of like one young guy comes, he's bringing his friend maybe. It's really just kind of networking and trying to figure out how to keep those guys around. And then recruitment's always a struggle for any, Carfu D3 team. So we're always looking for new ways to get guys coming in and staying on.
Absolutely, and that is kind of a big thing there. Like you talk about bringing guys in, I can't even tell you, John. I've been here 7 years. I can't even tell you the amount of Ravens or supposed Ravens who have walked through these doors. Maybe played one practice, one game, one season, and we never hear hire them again. I assume it's a similar situation over there.
Yeah,
Retention.
absolutely. Yeah. Like, and as a captain, and I've been the ombudsman a couple times too. I try my best to, kind of personalize like each relationship that of a new guy coming in. Like, I'll get his number right away. Send out like personal texts every now and again to, see like, hey, you come to the social, like, hey, how's everything going? Just stuff like that. But it's hard for anybody to kind of keep up that sort of relationship with an entire team. So retention is difficult, but you got to try to make everybody feel like they're part of the club in order to stay with it. Because like you said, we've had plenty of guys come for a practice or two or a half season. Like you never really hear back from why they left or anything. So that's tough to deal with.
Gotta fill out the survey.
Right.
Survey to all you people who quit. Why?
Right.
Could you please list the reasons?
By end of day, please.
By end of day, absolutely. By business day tomorrow. So that's definitely a struggle, and I think it's an advantage that some of these bigger teams, like you mentioned the Blaze, like you mentioned the Riot, who kind of dominated this division last year, bigger advantage that even Fox Valley has had for over the rest of us for many years now is, you know, you're getting these people competing in practice, and you can do a heck of a lot more drills with 30 guys at practice than you can do with 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that's huge too, right?
Yeah, that's massive, and you know, we've had actually practices where we can't even split up like forwards and backs because there'll be two backs there. So you know, the second that you get that 15 to 20 people at practice, the odds of you only having a certain amount of like forwards or backs is pretty slim. And then once you can split up practices, once you can do individual drills that like are attacking like a certain skill point, like that just makes practices that much more efficient and like that much like better for everybody to improve.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, a little bit about, you know, you mentioned the high school team that you had played for over there. A friend of the show, Taylor Seitz, has mentioned he actually has played you in high school. So going on, you and Taylor having a rivalry of what, like 15 years or some craziness like this?
Yeah, sure. With the small hiatus for college, but yeah, it's been a while.
That's interesting. But so that high school team is still going there in Schaumburg, or?
Yeah, so when I was playing for them, they were the Arlington Stallions. Okay. From what I've heard, they're actually, I don't know if they're still going to be the Arlington Stallions or some sort of Northwest, like, or the Stallions Rugby Club. It sounds like they might be losing the Arlington part, but don't quote me on that. Okay. But yeah, when I was there, they were called the Arlington Stallions, and it was just a club that was a lot of the high schools around the Northwest suburbs area. So I came from there, went to school, came back, didn't move too far away, and just I knew of the Woodsmen because I practiced with them in high school. And yeah, so that's how that came to be. So I always try to keep in touch with that high school club that, you know, if guys are coming back after school or if they're going to Harper, our local community college, like always trying to keep that relationship pretty close. So that helps as a recruiting tool as well.
Absolutely.
So like outside of that, like, do you guys do any more like youth initiatives? Like obviously it would be like perfect to get them as a feeder program for you guys, but is there kind of any other layers to you guys? Like we talked to Lake County, they're doing a youth program. I know the Ravens, they're working on their youth program. So like kind of where are you guys on something like that potentially?
It seems like actually the Arlington Stallions are kind of setting up like an earlier type thing for them to have youth programs. And I think they're actually running them through the actual park districts now. So it used to just be its own club. And I think now they're kind of involving themselves with the local park districts, like Palatine or Arlington Heights right by the area. It sounds like they're trying to run it through the park districts. And we've got a couple of guys who are volunteering to kind of just help them out with that. So it really kind of comes down to like how much we're trying to get involved with helping out that high school club, because they do have some of that stuff going on. And the more that we can put ourselves in front of that as well, the better for us, in my opinion.
No, absolutely.
Well, before we move on, I want to bring up our non-sponsor sponsor of the day, which is Raw. God damn it. This way, maybe? This way. Okay, no. Come this way. There we go. Raw rolling papers. Now, this is for the gentleman who maybe can roll a joint, but chooses not to, and instead would like to use a shooter. And these papers are perfect for you. You can pop that bad boy right into your shooter. Bam, 6 joints rolled in the time that would take somebody to roll 1, John. We are about efficiency here on Sports by Compion, and that is why Raw papers are a proud non-sponsor sponsor of Sports by Compion. Absolutely. Anyway, moving on here.
I've actually got those right next to me.
There you go. So you know, an efficiency is well done. I imagine you have a 6-shooter too, or maybe you should get one, John, because let me tell you, it's quite efficient.
I'll have to look into that.
I like to show up to rugby days, usually with about 14 joints. And let me tell you, if I was rolling each of those joints individually, it would take me way longer to have 14 joints ready for days.
That's for sure.
So either way, that's pretty impressive. What about the spring season? I kind of don't know if I followed your guys' spring that well, but you mentioned the scrimmage with Fox Valley. That was before the fall season, though, right?
Oh, well, I think we did one in the spring and one in the fall. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and we play Fox Valley a whole lot. We're even playing again this spring because, like I said, Fox Valley and the Woodsmen came from the same club, the Elgin River Rats, and they separated, became two entities. So we've ever since had that long-standing rivalry. So we played Fox Valley actually a great deal. So yeah, we did one in the fall, one in the spring, and for the first 2 times in my life have beaten Fox Valley twice in a row.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we're playing again in the spring, and last spring we were around 500. Didn't have too many games, a lot of rained out stuff last spring, unfortunately. But I think we ended up around 500. And then this spring, we've already got a handful of games coming in with, I think, one of the confirmed ones definitely against Fox Valley again.
Okay, good deal. So that's the spring season. So going into obviously the 2024 season ahead, how's your guys' spring looking for this one? You mentioned Fox Valley's on the schedule. Are you guys headed up to Wisconsin to play some of those teams?
We've definitely looked into that. I know Toe is our match secretary. He's been talking to a lot of squads, but a lot of squads this early somehow don't feel like the need to actually confirm their spring schedules. But I know for a fact we're going down to Indianapolis. I know, right? That's what I always say.
Why would you do that?
Yeah. But yeah, I know we're going down to Indianapolis. I think we're going to try to do like an overnight down there. It's kind of like a team road trip. And I do think it was either Oshkosh or Appleton is one of them. So I think, yeah, we're definitely doing one team up in Wisconsin as well.
Appleton's fun. Those are good guys up there.
Yeah. So we played them a couple years back or maybe even pre-COVID. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting back up there. So those are the 3 that I remember or know about. But I know we're working on getting a little bit of a more full schedule. Every toe's on top of it seems like. So
I think we have an opening for you, John. I think we have a 420 game that we're looking to host somebody, and I would love another shot at the Woodsmen.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're looking for some more games to play. So I'll get Toe in touch with somebody.
I will mention it to Skip, our match secretary. So that'd be cool. Maybe we can work that out. We'd love to see you guys again in the spring. Even though we're going to play in the fall, it's still it was a heck of a game. So I just would love another chance at that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So the other thing I was going to ask about, so just hopping back to the fall season here for a second, you guys put up 77 points on the Peoria Pigs. Now, as Dan mentioned, this wasn't the same Peoria Pigs we've seen over the last couple of years, not the same Peoria Pigs that went to the playoffs last year. We had Preston on here already for our Midwest Rugby series. Shout out Preston. And he mentioned a couple of things that have kind of maybe gone wrong with that club this fall, but talk a little bit about that game. It must have felt pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. We knew, well, because Peoria, everybody knows they're sometimes or most of the time a little bit less strong of a team when they're away. Peoria being the furthest one away for every other club in Carfu. So I'm pretty sure they showed up with exactly 15 people. So that definitely had a lot to do with it because, that was a game that we had probably like 25 to 28 guys. So we were able to, keep fresh legs in the second half while they were struggling to run around the field towards the end of the game. But it really just seemed like, we had their number. All of our plays were working. All of our timing was working, and it just seemed like one of those things that we couldn't really make a mistake. So it was probably a combination of us having a good day already as it was, and then, Peoria, not coming with nearly as enough people to like keep fresh legs and be able to run around the field for the entire 80 minutes. Everything just seemed to be working. We were catching the ball, hitting the holes, not dropping the ball. So that's always nice. And
that's always nice.
Yeah, everything was just clicking forwards and backs, and we were able to power through.
Were you guys able to stay pretty much healthy throughout this year, or did you have some pretty severe injuries throughout?
We definitely had one of our backs actually towards ACL in like second or third game. So that's always a doozy. And, like almost, I'm pretty sure every team by the end of the season, we had some guys that are some more minorly banged up. But for the most part, we only had kind of that one major injury. We had a couple of other guys that got hurt in the spring with like bigger injuries that were kind of not around as much. But for the most part, I would say we were staying relatively healthy. The consistency in which maybe one or two guys would be out with something, or it just always seemed to be at least a couple of guys. But we were staying pretty healthy for most of the year.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah, you always like to see that.
Absolutely. So going into this year for the fall season, all right, What do you think is going to happen with the Riot? Do you think they're going to rally? Do you think they're going to get another 100 guys suddenly show up to their practices and their captain Francis is over there is just going to suddenly turn them back into a powerhouse? Or do you think maybe they're on their way down and Lake County's the new king to stay?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really, you can really count out the Riot. In all my years, I don't necessarily think they've ever had like a bad team. They've had upper less up years, but yeah, numbers I know when I was talking to them was kind of an issue. So I don't know if Chicago being the market that it is, I feel like it might be a little bit easier with more people to kind of recruit. So
Sure.
you never know with them. I would like to see it if they remained around the same level as a good team, but a beatable team. Because you never want to see a team just completely fall off. But in terms of the Riot, I don't really see them ever really being like a really, really bad team. So hopefully they can get some guys back and keep the competition level up, which I believe the Riot can.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt there. Did you guys beat them this year or?
No, that was our second loss. They had a great game against us.
Did you go to them?
No, we were actually at home.
Okay.
That was one of those games where nothing really was seeming to click with us. So yeah, they beat us pretty handedly, and obviously you want to see that as a good competition in the league. But if they stayed at the level where they've been a beatable team, then I'd like that too for us.
For sure. No, definitely. So yeah, going into this is sort of the time of banquets. We had the Northwest Indiana. Michael was on here talking about their 50th banquet. Yeah, their 50th banquet. We kind of talked to Preston a little bit about his banquet situation. Do you guys have a banquet coming up? Has it already taken place?
Yeah, so I've already planned it all. I think this is our 45th year, and we've been going to the same place the last couple of years out in Crystal Lake. Formed a good relationship with the owner of this small banquet hall. So we're going back there on February 24th. Should be a good time. We're expecting to have a good showing this year. We've had a lot of guys, got it all planned, and looking forward to it.
Nice. That sounds exciting.
Are always fun.
Oh, yeah.
Talk a little bit about your long-term coach over there, Lou. It was my first time meeting him the other day. Been in the league a minute, but I didn't bother to really meet anybody until this year. But talk about him kind of being there for a while with the club and what he's done for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, without Lou, there's probably no Woodsman, to be honest. He's been with the club for as long as it's been, a club, and he's been our president for 25 years plus. So without Lou, the Woodsman really would have fallen apart by now. He does everything. He runs the entire executive board by helping everybody out with every job that they need to get done. He gives out the correct jobs to the correct people. He's got a part on Carfu and I think even Midwest Union now. So he's just a great human being. I've known him since high school. He coached me on the Illinois high school team, so I've known him for a long time. And he just really is, the face of rugby for our organization. I can't say enough good things about Lou. He's all over the place, helping with whatever he can, wherever he can, and he just loves the game.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Guys.
Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I say it's always good when you get those guys. Like we have a couple over in Rockford that have just been around since it feels like day one, and you kind of need that to build to show the young guys this is a long-term thing. There's life after playing, but you're still in the community of rugby.
I imagine Lou played back in the day, did he?
Yeah. Okay. He played for a long time. I think he might have started out in college or maybe before then, but yeah, he's been playing for a long ass time.
Cool. We actually just wrapped up our first of 3 rugby clinics that we're going to be hosting here in Rockford. If you are in the Rockford area, people come to the next one, although this will probably be out when they're already over. So anyway, it is free rugby clinics that are going to be a part of it. We kind of talked briefly when you guys were up here about maybe hosting some joint clinics. Kind of your thoughts on that now. Do you think, there's sort of something to be said about joining the 3 clubs? We're sort of the closest to each other, the Rockford, the Fox Valley, and you guys, the Woodsmen. You think that could be a big benefit?
I think everything that involves, getting out there, reaching out, extending your network with, rugby in this area, especially at our level. I think anything that you do is significantly helpful. You got to spread out the word to as many people as you possibly can. There's a whole lot of people out there that still don't know about rugby, even though it's, becoming a more popular sport. So realistically, no matter what it is, if it's clinics, if it's joining up with, other teams from around the league, I think it's always great to get your name out there, to get rugby out there, and just trying to help expand the sport any way that you can.
Absolutely. Well, not to, and if you want to go ahead and dodge this question, is totally fine. We have heard that, maybe one of your older boys may or may not be the president over there with Carfu in general, sort of the main man in charge. What do you think about the state of Carfu? Do you think they could be doing more? Are you happy with what they've done?
I mean, if I'm honest, I usually try to stay out of the higher politics.
Fair.
I like to, kind of stick with everything Woodsman related. Obviously, with Lou and Marcus as, our president and vice president, they've got significant roles up in Carfu as well. So just having them around and me being, captain and on the exec board, I hear a lot of things, and I'm glad that rugby is organized in this area, and that we all have like the ability to play. With like some of the things with how it's run, or pricing, or rules, or organization, I kind of try to stay out of that one.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
So I mean, as long as everything is run, games are organized, there's a pool of sirs, and we can still operate and play rugby as a union. I'm happy with it, to be honest. I'm sure with any organization, with any union, could there be improvements? I'm absolutely sure there could. Whether or not I know what those are, I couldn't say. But yeah, as long as everything's still getting organized, and as long as I'm still able to play and participate, like, I'm good with it.
Yeah, as long as they stay in business, that's a great point.
Yeah, that's a good start.
Good start. Stay afloat. Which is maybe more than USA Rugby could say as a whole.
Yeah. So fingers crossed at all times, I guess, because you can see what can happen.
Absolutely. COVID hit USA Rugby hard, man. What were your thoughts on U.S. team not qualifying for the World Cup in general?
It's tough. USA, with so many other sports, is always, in competition at least somewhat. To not even qualify, even if they would have done super poorly, still would have been cool to watch them on the world stage. So
for sure,
I still think like our sevens team still, performs pretty well. Hopefully, the MLS seems to be MR. Jesus Christ, MR. There we go.
We got you. We know MLR. Yep, got it right here, baby.
Oh. Yeah, right. Yeah,
there
we go. I wish I could have read that.
Next time I'll just like subtly be like, hey, you struggling? I got you, buddy.
Right. Yeah, they seem to be, up and coming. Some teams are in and out, but hopefully that takes off, and that just helps the state of everything in the United States.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
Like one of the things I loved, and someone had commented on one of our other videos talking about expansion of the MLR, was I like that they encouraged and told teams to go find local TV deals. So like, where I am, the DC team is on a network that goes through PA, Delaware, Virginia, down into the Carolinas. Chicago Hounds is on Marquee, which does Illinois, Southern Wisconsin, Indiana. So it's like, because clearly the national markets, because it kept getting put on FS1, and I swear, every time it was on FS1, they would like show the first 10 minutes of the match, and they'd be like, yeah, we're switching to beach volleyball or something else.
Yeah.
And it was like, go watch it on the Fox Sports app. And I'm like, damn it. So, like they mean it on that local level, having people like you, John, Steven, sort of, just kidding. Like us doing things like this, talking about the sport, getting the name out there. You talked about how it's an up and coming, growing thing in the States, but it's kind of funny to sit here and, you're like, oh, it's our 45th year. The Ravens been around since 76, Peoria since 73, Northwest 50 years. So it's like a lot of these organizations, if you actually talk to them, have been around for a very long time. It just shows how blind the society is to that. We've all been playing this sport for a long time here, and there are ones that date back further than that.
Right.
I had to explain to someone, I was like, if you watch like, early 1900 football, it's rugby. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I was like, where do you think you got football from? And they're like, oh, I kind of thought football or rugby kind of was a break off of football. And I'm like, other way around, bud.
Right.
Yeah. Well, so just real quick here, I know you guys played the Northwest Indiana. You know, I think a lot of people were kind of maybe calling for them to go down to D4. Not going to name names, but I think we saw some fight out of them personally. The Rockford Ravens had a tough time traveling out there. We always struggled to travel out there, and we went out with the skeleton crew, and they gave us a hell of a fight, which ultimately did hurt our playoff chances. I think you guys handled them pretty well, though, right?
Yeah. We it was the last game of the season, or second to last game, sorry. And they came out by us. First half, we we're a little down in the first half, but we ended up picking it up in the second half to be able to win by, I think, a couple, 2-3 tries at least. But yeah, no, they, like, just in the first half alone, they find a way to stick in almost every game. So just because, the score shows one thing doesn't mean that, there weren't parts of the games that were, a lot closer than what they look like on paper. But yeah, they've been holding up.
For sure. No, I think they got something cooking down there. They got a lot of young guys who came into them recently, a bunch of 18-year-olds. So I think they're going to be doing something coming these next couple of years. What do you think, Dan? Anything else?
Nah, I mean, I just appreciate you coming on, taking the time to talk with us. Always
we really do.
The game.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Absolutely. John, do you have any parting words to the fine people of Sports by Compiègne?
Not necessarily. I'm sure, people out there maybe still don't know much about rugby. I suggest going to check it out. It's a great sport. Absolutely.
And if you happen to be in the St. Charles, Schaumburg area, look into the Woodsmen, look up your boy John. It'd be fun to be playing for him. Great guy. Don't go play for Fox Valley. They're trash.
Yeah.
Until we have Taylor Lance on, in which case we'll be preaching the opposite. But either way, we appreciate you coming on, John. Sports by Compiègne. We're out of here.